Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing, man?
How is my brother from another mother?
I'm doing really good. I know tonight we're going to talk about the Snyder Cut. I like calling it Snyder Cut because it differentiates
It's
it from
shorter than
yeah
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
instead of weak bland. But anyhow, so I thought to myself, how they did this great social media campaign to bring Zack Snyder's
Yep.
Justice League to front. So I thought to myself,
Hashtag release the Snyder
hashtag,
Cut.
I am going to do the same thing. I thought I'm going to do the same thing. And so I thought I'm going to start a social media campaign and get all the fans and I'm going to promote my movie. And so I'm really, you want to see it? I got it.
Your
It's
movie?
not a movie,
Wait,
but it's like
your
I got
movie?
the adverse. I have like the poster and everything. I'm really excited about it. Yes, it's
that is the shilling cut.
that's right.
Oh
Podcast
my.
wife.
Jason wants
Todd,
to know if this is an adult movie. I love that we have the podcast wife and we have Manny, the podcast dog, and what's the alien's name?
that's Steve.
Steve the alien, and Todd VC
Yes.
on there.
So So anyway,
I'm impressed. I'm
I'm gonna do a
impressed.
hashtag on it, and hopefully we can get that on, instead of HBO Max, maybe on Public Television 8 or something like that. So anyhow, anyway, that's it for me. I think that would be pretty cool. So anyway,
Okay, well maybe we should just start our show.
okay,
How about we do that?
we'll do our show first.
It's the Something About Something show with your host, Mr. Mike Silly.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe. Man, boy, man. Jason Hamilton, I'm looking forward to the shilling cut. Yes, I have.
It cuts like a knife.
You know how Zack Snyder does, 1 and 2 and 3. Number 4 is going to be Shillings Cut the Cheese, and that's going to be a good one.
Oh,
That is the
since you mentioned cheese,
yes.
I think that is the perfect segue.
What a great segue that is.
Did you actually plan that?
Yes, I'm gonna act like I did.
Rob Moore says, "Bring on the shilling cut." Yes,
Thank you, sir.
So, okay. So speaking of cutting the cheese,
Yes.
you know what holiday the first totally internet holiday? It's coming up this Monday. You know
that's
what it
right.
is? The Cheese Weasel Day.
That's right.
If you are not familiar with Cheese Weasel Day, you should go to cheeseweasel.com. It is a day specifically to celebrate those people who are in tech support, those people that answer your calls, and on that special day, the Cheese Weasel comes and visits all the good little tech support girls and boys and
Yes.
places cellophane wrapped slices of cheese under
That's
their
right.
mouse pads.
Yeah.
And it is a great time to celebrate your tech support. So if you have tech support people in your life, definitely say Happy Cheese Weasel Day. Jason Hamilton says, Ricky, did you make up a holiday? It feels like you made it up. I did not make this
make
up.
it up.
I
No.
promise.
no.
I did not make this up.
No.
I check out cheeseweaselday.com. It's a real thing. It actually exists. And you just make sure you wish your tech support luck. Good wishes on that day.
That's
And
right.
usually it's April 3rd.
Yes.
That's the traditional day. But when April 3rd falls on a weekend, hey Dan,
Mr. Dan, welcome.
when it falls on a weekend, then we push it to the following Monday, because most tech support works Monday through Friday. You have your headphones in backwards.
Oh, it's much louder now. Wow. But
That's much better.
Hey, my hand's going out. Yeah, this is better. Much better now.
So speaking of tech support, your world is changing tomorrow, right?
Yes. I am going to leave. I've left a place I worked at for 20 years, and I will be starting a new technology support at a hospital in a small town. And I will be doing IT support for them, and I look forward to it. And
That is awesome.
it is awesome. And what's the nice thing about it, my wife works there too, and we get to drive an hour and a half together back and forth. So, yeah, I was excited about it.
That is pretty awesome, man.
No, that is pretty awesome.
I'm super happy for you that you have pulled the trigger and you are diving in to a whole new world.
Yeah, so first I was going to do a midget mud wrestling, but I never got an interview for that. So I decided to do this thing instead. So it's a good thing. And so
I don't know that you fit into the midget thing. I don't know. You're a little too tall for that, I think.
Well, I think that was the issue. I had a good resume, but the whole height thing, So anyway, man, we have a big show, don't we? A really big show.
We do. We are going to talk about the forever long movie, Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Man.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be good.
I think I really enjoyed it. I tell you what, we have a lot to talk about, so why don't we go ahead and get into weird and stupid news? What do you think, my friend?
I think we can do that as soon as I get to the right screen. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yeah, we are.
This is the Weird and Stupid News with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling. I was trying to share the show to the Facebook group while we were having that conversation, and then you said, let's go to the news, and I wasn't on the right screen yet.
Well, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. We are a well-oiled machine, and you get what you pay for, folks. Yes,
that is exactly right.
Exactly
you get exactly what you pay for.
Well, this is interesting. I came across this interesting article here. It's across the pond. Let's see here. What would you started off? What would you do if you got in an argument with your better or your worse half? You may talk about it. You may talk not at all. You may just shout it out. Well, in Russia, they do something different. This one man from St. Petersburg who didn't agree with his wife filled her car with cement.
Oh my.
Yes.
His wife's car.
Yes.
Oh my.
It turns out the wife decided to change her surname to that supermarket called, and we don't have it here, Loyal. Now, basically, the supermarket promised the customers 50,000 rubles a month, probably about $660 here a month, to legally change their surname. Now the catch of it is apparently now, according to the reports, it turned out that she was not very loyal to him and admitted on cheating on him. So basically her hysband, revenge was basically cement seats. And that is
horrible and
that is horrible, isn't it?
All at the same time.
It's and so it's
that's not going to set up well.
No. Set up. He said that. That's the.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I went there.
Yes, you did. This one, oh my goodness, it's very interesting to me. It's 20-year-old Douglas Francisco was arrested for driving under the influence after he was found passed out at a drive-through bank after mistaking it for a Taco Bell.
A drive-through bank for a Taco Bell?
Yes.
Okay.
I just started. My. Yes, that's right. The branch manager contacted Hernando County Sheriff's Office after spotted Douglas passed out in his blue Hyundai with the motor running at the bank drive-through. Martin, the bank manager, told the police that he tapped on the driver's side window for some time until he managed to regain consciousness. As Douglas woke, he attempted to order a burrito from the manager, but was sorely disappointed and confused when the manager informed him that this was not Taco Bell.
Oh my gosh.
The arrest report revealed that Douglas made several statements that were different than reality. The field sobriety test was conducted and concluded that Francisco movements were slow and in a way was consistent with someone on prescription narcotics. Yes, he was arrested and charged a DUI and held at Hernando County Jail with a $500 bond.
Wow. Hey, I'm going to say real quick, shout out to Michaela Earp. Hey there, Michaela. Long time no see. Friend of mine.
You have friends. That is awesome. I thought I was the only one.
Just a couple.
Mr. Daryl McCarty. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Daryl, for joining.
Hey, and there's Todd VC. We've already seen your face once today.
Yes.
Hey, Terrence. Wish I could do that with my... I think talking about the cement in the car.
Cement, yes,
oh my goodness, Terrence.
Nothing like a little cement in the car that says, I hate you. So anyhow, nice. This next one here is, I call it special education. On Monday, April 30th, 42-year-old Thomas.
Short bus.
Short bus. Thomas Tremley, superintendent of Kenilworth Public Schools in Hold'em, New Jersey, was found to be a mystery pooper. He was caught by, he was found to be a mystery pooper.
A mystery pooper. So
yes.
Is that like a legal term?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but I did stay at Holiday Express. But I will say that he was found, basically he was caught by surveillance videos as he was committing the crime at the high school football field. Doing the do. Track coaches and staff at the high school complained that human feces, not Todd feces. I couldn't help it. I'm going to get a phone call real soon.
We're going to relive that event. Oh. I heard Tiffany moan in the background.
Yeah, that was already, yes. Okay, I don't even know where I'm at now.
So they found human feces on the field?
Yes, on the field. And they found it on a daily basis. That's one day, but it was every day. The school employees were shocked, and their school grounds had been struck by a mystery pooper. That's what they have coined it as. To combat the wrongdoing, mystery pooper. To combat his wrongdoing, the school had set up a surveillance camera to catch the pooper in the act. The surveillance cameras revealed that the mystery pooper to be no other than superintendent of the school. A superintendent of the school, yes. Yes. The superintendent was arrested at 5:50 a.m. while running on the athletic fields. Ooh, yes. Superintendent was charged with lewdness, littering, and defecating in public. And as he has not been indicated or his...
So no reasons yet as to why he decided this was something he must do.
No, but I know one thing. That's all the poo we have on Stupid News.
Oh, my goodness.
That was like you.
That was nice. Sorry, I was on the wrong screen again.
Yeah.
I got to make sure I'm on the right. I didn't know how many.
Folks,
I thought I was expecting you to have one more. But I'm sorry.
Did you?
I thought you were going to have one.
I could have made up something. No, I was trying to make it short. Right. Oh, yeah. Todd V says, hey, Mike, what is it with you and poop? Are you constipated?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Stupid News on a regular basis has feces, some sort of bodily fluid, at least once in every Stupid News series.
And that's a guarantee, folks.
So shall we just a real quick, maybe we should do our public service announcement. We've lost a SAS nerd.
Yes.
Now we don't mean he's dead. We can't find him. We've lost him. Do you want to kind of fill us in with what's going on?
Well, one
Maybe
day,
he's out there watching on Facebook, and if you are, or on YouTube.
please give us your contact information. Yes, the other day I was given we have the SAS Nerds group, which is a part of the Something About Something Facebook page, and one of our members, I was contacted by Facebook telling me that he was basically, I was notified that he was banned from Facebook because of what they consider to be bullying and violent message, which I saw it, and to me he was quoting a movie.
It was a direct quote from a movie,
movie.
that was specifically related to the meme itself.
Exactly.
About the movie.
So I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to remove him. And I didn't realize Facebook actually removed him. I mean, I can't find him
it
on
removed
Facebook.
the comment.
Yeah.
And then it appears that they have at least temporarily banned him from Facebook. So we can't find him. So I guess we can call him out since we're trying to find him.
Yes.
So Lamon, if you're out there, or if you're out there watching on YouTube, because you can watch on YouTube, sign into your YouTube and comment on the YouTube page so we know you're alive and well out there in the great country of, is it Ireland or Scotland he's from? Ireland, right?
Ireland, yes.
Ireland. So let us know you're out there. We just want to check up on you. And if you're out there, send us your contact info. We would love to connect with you in some other fashion. But
one way or another.
So
yeah. If Facebook doesn't own it. But anyhow.
Apparently. Anyway, so hopefully we get a hold of Lamont again and get him back into the fold.
I agree.
So Dan wanted to know if we lost Zack Snyder himself. No, we have not lost Zack Snyder, but we do have a guest tonight. Are we ready?
We do.
Are we ready for our guest?
Yes, I'm ready for this.
We have a guest.
Yes.
We are bringing back BB Nate himself.
BB Nate.
Hello.
Hello,
Nate. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here again.
Yes.
Awesome,
So
yeah.
some of you might remember Nate from several weeks ago when we did a bit more about Star Wars, as I recall. And he is one of the co-hosts of Tatooine Sons, and his camera is bouncing all over the place.
It is. My chair decided to hit the table. That might have been a part of my fault as well, but.
So tell us where we can find you and Tatooine Sons real quick.
Oh, well, Facebook, Twitter as well. We've, of course, changed up the format since the past 3 years. We're focusing more on pop culture and everything. You can find us, of course, on Spreaker, Spotify, all the big podcast things. And so, yeah, it's everywhere we've been. We're just changing up the show a little bit, which is exciting. It's been a lot more fun, and talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier has been great because it's so far a fantastic show. So it's been exciting.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
You notice he has more fans than we do. We've been hitting,
He does. Yeah, he comes on the show and we have more
that.
people watching than usual.
I know.
So that doesn't surprise me, though,
It don't surprise me either. They get tired of us. It's good to have somebody you actually want to listen to. And that's
got to get some new blood on here from time
That's
to time.
right.
So we are talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I'm assuming we've all watched it.
I've watched it 3.5 times.
Oh my.
I mean, in one sitting? In one sitting, twice?
No, not in one sitting.
Okay.
Not 3 times
Okay.
in one sitting. But,
Okay.
well, so all the times I've watched it through fully, it was one sitting. But not like back to back to back. Yeah, I can't do that.
You made a comment when we were talking on SAS Nerds, and I didn't get back with you, but I made a comment about going back. I'm going to go back to the theatrical and look at the difference. And you told me, I don't think I can ever go back again. And about a day later, I was going to watch it again, and I had the exact experience. I can't watch it anymore. After watching the Snyder cut, it doesn't make sense. The original version does not make any sense. And we'll talk about more of this tonight, but
yeah. And I was, one of the things that I thought about that exact thing is I kind of vaguely want a crazy this is the video editor filmmaker in me coming out. I kind of crazy want a ridiculous cut that actually shows side by side what was changed, what was removed,
Yeah.
what was, what was added, what was left out. It'll be like a 5 or 6 hour movie to do it. But
Well, you're kind of in luck. A lot of people have been taking scenes that were from or certain things and
yes,
putting them on YouTube, and of course, I've been watching them, and I'm like, just people have been saying, "Oh, like the Wonder Woman bank scene, the opening,
Yes.
one of the opening
yeah,
scenes, fantastic," and it felt completely different in the 2017 movie, and so they
yes,
put a comparison, and it was so confusing as to the point of somebody's like, they didn't reshoot anything. Joss just
Yeah.
cut it up a little bit
They
different. And I'm
did.
like, so I looked at it again and I'm like, Joss reshot this whole scene probably.
Yeah, he
He
did.
didn't redo anything. He didn't like just cut it up a little bit and to make it lighter. No, there was like totally different parts of the scene,
Yeah.
totally different angles and everything. I'm like,
yeah.
this is just it's a different movie
It
entirely.
is a different movie. I agree with
Absolutely,
you.
absolutely.
One thing on a technology side, and I know that Ricky can test that on his own. I had a couple of things which a lot of people were bashing, saying, okay, why is it not a widescreen format? And of course this came on a
Yes.
4:3 format to preserve the integrity of Zack Snyder's creative vision. And of course, this is, if you're looking at it, this is basically what you're looking at in comparison. And this is a good one I found on the Snyder Cut, which basically this is the different aspect ratios.
Yeah.
Now, a little research, basically, Zack Snyder, his whole thing was that he wanted to go IMAX. And that was
Yes.
one reason he was going in that direction.
And most people don't realize
Yeah.
IMAX it's really close to square. It's not really quite a 3:4, a standard 4:3. That's 4:3 is like old school TV.
Exactly.
And IMAX isn't quite that, and it's not quite square, but it's a whole lot closer to that than what we think of as high def 16:9 is today.
The other thing Snyder said, I mean, look at it. At least in the 4:3 ratio, you have the full picture, and so that was the other thing that he was talking about. He wanted to make sure that you see the entire screen. And honestly, at first I thought, really, but after I got into it, it didn't make a difference to me. I mean, it didn't bother me. So,
If you think about it, he also went on an interview a couple of days after the movie was released, and they were asking like, "Why was it 4:3? It felt so strange." He's like, "You're not losing any of the picture.
no,
The bars from the top and the bottom of the normal movie on your TV are just moved to the sides, and so you're getting more of the top and the bottom, and then other movies you'd be getting more of the sides." He's like, "It's no different."
And it all has to do with the format he actually shot it in.
yeah, exactly.
If he had shot it on red in a 16:9 format, this would be a different story. But he didn't. This was shot mostly on film in a 4:3 format to begin with, and some of the shots were IMAX. Some of them. This is the weird thing is, he originally wanted to actually shoot the whole thing in IMAX.
Yeah,
That is super complicated. It is it is cost prohibitive. It's almost ridiculous. Any movie you ever see in IMAX, no movies are actually all shot in IMAX format. The cameras are too complex. They're too heavy to do all the complicated things that they need them to do. So he did the next best thing. He shot it in a format that would work for IMAX.
yeah. Like I said, once it really didn't make a difference to me.
No.
Daryl said, "Go back to say Tiffany. Can you go back to Daryl's?" Daryl says he loved it. The way it was shot, the color, the overall feeling of the film was great.
I think that was the big thing too, and I'm glad he mentions that. Let me see here. Oh, I say that I can't find it now. There's a comparison that I like, and this is basically the comparison here from Wheaton's and Zack Snyder. You can tell there's a really deeper, more serious tone with Snyder's versus Wheaton. And what's funny about it is they fought Zach the whole time, and we don't want a scary movie. They kept calling it a scary movie. They kept saying, and that was the big thing with the suit. The same thing with the black suit. They didn't want it because
Yeah.
they literally said we're not making a horror movie, and they didn't understand what the Dark Knight was. They don't understand the DC universe. It is a dark place.
Yeah.
And so,
Well,
anyway,
and in Zack Snyder's mind, and we'll get into this a little further on. His vision for the next 2 or 3 movies, this was not that. This was dark,
not as
but
dark as
holy
he's gonna
cow,
go, yeah.
it was going to get much,
man.
much darker.
Yeah, it
Like
was.
the title of the 6th part, something darker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, let's talk story. What did you think, guys? How do you feel like the story was improved? Do you feel like there were things that this new cut caused issues with the story? How did you feel about the story?
Well, I just think that it improved on everything. It took the main overall plot from the 2017 movie, which was already put into place, and improved on it. Added more characters, added more backstory for the characters, made you actually care for the characters. And the other one, they were there, and you're like, I'm not sure if I care if they win or lose. I don't have any connection with these people. I mean, I was worrying about Flash. I felt for Cyborg. I think that Superman's resurrection, while not a ton different, felt more impactful and felt like he was actually there for a reason. Unlike the original movie, where it just felt like they were resurrecting him to say that they have Superman in the movie.
Yeah. Hey, can we bring Judy's comment up, Tiffany? So Judy says, "You guys are so lucky to have my brilliant grandson on the show." Aww. And David, he takes after his father. Your family loves you, Nate. Let's see. Todd says Josh's version feels like a dumbed down version, like the fans weren't sophisticated enough to understand the plot line. I would agree. I think that some of it. I think also that Josh Whedon decided to do what the studio asked him to do,
and that's the thing. Yeah,
and that was not really the best thing for the movie.
No,
my big thing is, I feel like now we have a story that fully makes sense. There was. I never felt like there was good motivation for the villain. There was no good explanation for why Steppenwolf wanted to do what he wanted to do other than he was a bad guy. Which is, honestly, it's a problem I have. I know we're a DC show tonight, but it's the problem I have with Thanos all along.
Yeah.
Thanos doesn't feel like I never felt like Thanos had a good motivation.
Yeah.
He had a good idea. I mean, it was an interesting idea. I want to kill half of everybody because there's too many of us.
And I need a backstory for that, with a reason for that.
Why are there too many of us? Are people starving around the universe? We never see that.
Yeah.
We don't get any explanation for that. But in this instance, I never felt Steppenwolf had a good explanation for why he was what he was.
Yeah.
And I think now we've got a lot better picture. Actually, on one of the groups that I run, there was a conversation about this, and somebody had posted a thing about Darkseid and his backstory, and Steppenwolf, and kind of how they're all connected. And somebody commented, well, if you need a whole wiki to explain it, then the movie didn't do a good job. And I read it. I read the wiki, and I replied, no, what the wiki does is it explains it for those people who weren't actually paying attention during the 4-hour movie, because there's nothing in that wiki that I didn't learn from the movie.
Exactly.
I saw a review on Rotten Tomatoes, and it was just like this giant book. And one of the things that really pointed out to me is they never explained why Cyborg's father had to stay in the chamber or even had to shoot the mother box with the laser. And I'm like,
Yeah.
did you watch 5 minutes after that scene? They
Yeah,
explained it
exactly. It's
immediately.
absolutely explained. Exactly that. It's like
Exactly.
the comment that I had on the group I was in. He made some comment about you know, so Darkseid just forgot that's where the mother boxes were. No, the movie pretty much explained he knew they were there, but they were protected. Now they're not protected, and the surprise was that the anti-life equation was there, and he didn't know that.
Yes. That was really exciting here, anti-life equation.
Dave, David says Ricky nailed it. Turn off your phone and watch the movie. I will say this. It is so long though. It is so long. I had to watch it in segments. I could not watch all 4 hours.
And I think that was his intentions. If you think about it, he had it cut up in chapters, so it's like reading a book. So, okay, I'm done with this chapter. I can come back to it later, and that's how I had to treat it myself. Watch an hour here, maybe half an hour. Well, usually it's an hour, not a half an hour. But anyhow, but yeah, I think that's how I really think that was behind all of that. But what's interesting is what we're talking about is not any there's so many things that happen that you just can't assume. It's almost like there's no explanation why something has happened. And I'm not talking about, some mystical thing that you shouldn't have to explain. I'm talking about,
what you mean we don't have to.
So anyway, let's being nice tonight. And
I won't use the M word tonight.
let's not go there, please.
I won't use the Star Wars M word.
Nothing's wrong with it. All Star Wars is good Star Wars. That's what I believe.
Exactly.
Thank you, sir. He's converted me. Nate has converted me.
Do that.
I'm definitely with you though. Keep going.
Yeah. So one of the things, even from the very beginning, is, well, let's get this out of the way first. Okay. Let's get rid of the most horrible CGI.
Oh
my
ever.
Gosh.
He looks like he looks like he went in. He looks like I did when I came out of a wisdom tooth surgery or a surgery. I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
so bad.
And so instead
so
of
bad.
so Whedon went with this, and Snyder, he starts off with the Superman dying, right from the beginning of the get-go, and it set the tone for the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting too,
and explains why the mother boxes wake.
Exactly.
Yes, because they don't fear coming to Earth. Superman is the only one they feared, and after that, but you didn't know that. You didn't know that from the theatrical version of it, because why all suddenly they showed up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't make much sense.
No, it didn't.
No. It does definitely make a whole lot more sense as far as the movie goes. What do you guys think about the development of characters in the new version? I know you've kind of alluded to it already, but go ahead.
I absolutely loved Cyborg and how much backstory he actually got.
Yeah, I do too.
One of my favorite scenes was a scene where he was looking at the waitress that had just that $11, and that whole scene, he felt. And one of the things that I haven't seen many people point this out, he's constantly feeling like a monster and that he's not a human anymore.
Yeah.
And right as he's looking at that waitress, seeing how much money she got, he doesn't put his hood up. He walks away proud and he's like, I did something. And then he gets looked at and he's like, I'm still the monster. And then he puts his hood up. And I thought that was a fantastic acting and directing choice. And I absolutely loved that scene so much.
Yeah, that is a great scene. And I do love that we finally get a real backstory for Cyborg. His character is so much more fleshed out. He is, when Zack Snyder said Cyborg was supposed to be the heart of the movie, he definitely becomes the key to everything that happens.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the Flash in the new version? Flash he's different.
He is. He's very different. I really liked his character in this movie. Well, he had added scenes. Not many of the scenes were changed, but he had just some scenes that were just fantastic. I think that it's a great casting choice. In 2017, I'm like, I'm not sure about this guy. I'm not sure if he's really a great Flash. I mean, we had Grant Gustin, who's kind of the cookie cutter Flash.
Exactly.
It feels like that.
Yeah.
But this one, he's a little bit different. And my brother brought up a really great point. He's kind of the Spider-Man of this universe. I feel like that's where Joss Whedon's version went wrong with him. They tried to make him too much like Spider-Man because he's not. He really isn't. And I felt in the first movie, Flash had absolutely no bearing to the final fight at all. He had no importance.
No.
He saved that really weird Russian family that took up 15 minutes of already short film, which made absolutely no sense. And that was it. That was.
And
just
you understand?
it.
Do you understand why they attempted to add that?
I mean, just like there's
the idea. Here was the idea.
They wanted Superman and Flash.
Whedon decided that Whedon or the studio, I'm not sure which, decided that the stakes didn't feel high enough because there wasn't anybody to be saved in that abandoned Russian city.
This had the whole world to save.
I know. But that's why they added that family, so that you felt like there was actually a people to protect.
Yeah, but I mean, just the thing is Zack was already
saying it's right.
No, Zack was already trying to cut this into a 2-hour film, and he's like, that was already difficult enough. You don't need to add 10 minutes or so of a random Russian family that's already taking away from the characters that we are coming to see this movie for.
What do you think about the Flash, Mike?
I think you have a better understanding and sympathize with him because you get to see more. Of course, in the first one you did get to see his relationship with his father, but you never had the opportunity to see him go out of his way to save the young lady who is Iris from the comic book, and he has a little bit of humor, but there's a seriousness about him too, and he has this childlikeness, childlike faith of some kind where he's just awes Batman and and here's Batman coming along and mentoring him, but you get to see a deeper mentoring than you did before. There's a deeper meaning behind their relationship. So I really liked it. I'm kind of like with Nate, the 2017. I was going, okay, I don't know if I'm going to care to see this Flash or not. I'll watch it, but I don't really think he can pull it off. Now watching the next Snyder's version of it, I have a different opinion. I think he'll be just fine. I think he's set up very well for that.
So does anybody have a problem with having a Flash that is pretty clumsy?
He felt more clumsy in the 2017 one than he did this one.
You think so? I was gonna say there's like 3 major tumbles he takes in the 4-hour movie, and they're all pretty crucial moments.
Well, I think a big thing between the previous one and the present one is that they actually touch on Flash's ability to turn back time, time travel and the Speed Force. They touched on that, which will be I think it will be a big thing in the movie coming up with him and Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck.
Well, and we're not shying away from spoilers. We actually do see him physically turn back time because technically Wonder Woman and Superman and everybody died for about 2 minutes while Flash slow motion to return back time. What's Todd say? Did you notice the Flash split away from himself when he approached the speed of light? Could that be a setup for the multiverse? Definitely. We're definitely going there. We're definitely going there. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to get there, but we're getting there somehow.
Now, the way this whole thing, my question to you guys is, we talk about the Flash, who's part of the Justice League, even though this Justice League movie is not going to see a continuation of this version. How do you think this is all going to play out? What's your predictions as far as, because are they going to make any reference? Are they going to have any canon that's connected to the actual Justice League, or are they going to have to figure up some new writing that has nothing to do with it?
I'm not sure. I don't know where we go from here. I mean, that
Yeah.
was what I talked about on the last Tatooine Sons podcast. The DCEU is broken. It has been for a while.
Yeah.
And I feel like we don't have a set direction right now. And with what happened over the past week, with the Restore the Snyderverse hashtag beating Endgame, which is huge. I mean, you don't ignore the fan reception to this if it beats the highest grossing superhero movie of all time. That's just
Yeah.
something you cannot ignore. And with the news that Jim Lee is now the head of DC Comics, kind of the Kevin Feige of all that.
Yeah.
He also helped write the storyboards out for Justice League 2 and 3, for Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. I don't know if we're done with the Snyderverse. I hope we're not. I really want to see his finished vision. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, if we're getting 2 and 3, we got to get Ben Affleck's Batman and Man of Steel 2, which I would love those, but don't push our luck.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think we go for the other 2 Justice League movies for now.
Yeah.
And now, regarding the other DCEU movies with that canon, I'm not sure if they can tie movies that could be successful on their own with a movie like Justice League 2017 that just was not good.
Yeah, exactly.
That would already make people be like, well, I don't want to see it if it's tied to that movie, which made absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
I don't think that it would be a good idea business-wise or even just the story-wise and fan reception. I don't know where they go from here.
Okay, so with that in mind, what you just said about how we tie this in with the new movies, do you want to hop to the very end for just a moment, or do we want to save that? Because there's something that you and I talked about recently on another show. At the very end, causes a huge problem for the next 2 movies we expect to come out. So at the end, are we good to do it?
We might as
okay,
well.
so at the end, we have the vision of the future. And well, in the vision of the future, they've killed off Wonder Woman and they've killed off Aquaman. Well, the major problem with that idea is those are the only 2 actors that we still have good contracts with that are planning on making big blockbuster movies.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Why do you kill off Aquaman, who is expected to release Aquaman 2? And why do you kill off Wonder Woman, who we are expecting to have Wonder Woman 3 coming up? I think that is just this weird little thing that when he did it at the end, I'm like, really? You made that decision? So that means those movies are just not going to have anything to do with the Snyderverse.
And they really don't already, which is the strange thing. Aquaman does not have anything to do with the Man of Steel or BVS. It really just does follow up to the 2017 one loosely. They mention Steppenwolf, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So it follows up more behind that, and so those movies aren't even made. If we're going with the Snyderverse, and if we're going with the movies that are canon to that, we can just have Man of Steel, BVS, Wonder Woman, and then the Justice League movies, and that would really be it. Those are all that are really canon. That's all that was released before the Justice League movie was going to be released. So I'm not sure why they would kill off Wonder Woman and Aquaman. Maybe just for character conflict. I mean, I don't mind to see that. I don't mind to see different takes on characters and different takes on that. Love the idea of evil Superman. I always have since the Injustice games were released. I really do think that it would be a smart idea to finish out that Nightmare storyline. And I mean, see Darkseid, my favorite DC villain.
Yes, to see a real Darkseid fight would be really fantastic. What do you guys think about the CGI in the new movie, in the new cut?
I think that there are a couple points where it could be a little bit better. But overall, it is very impressive. You have to think that most of the CGI was done late 2016. Some of it was finished later on the $70 million budget and kind of cleaned up a little bit. Some of it was completely changed and stuff. And so, I mean, there are a couple moments where you can see some of the CGI just show through. But other than that, I think just overall, it's a very pretty movie visually.
Yeah, I thought the CGI was much, much better. There were still some floppy characters. You know, there's a scene where two parademons fly Cyborg's dad down from a ledge down to the floor, and they all three just kind of look like floppy little puppets. And I thought, you know what? You didn't even need that. You didn't need the whole that whole clip could have been cut. It was 5 seconds, and it was a bad CGI. It should have just been cut out, and we should have just cut to them on the floor. It would have been fine.
Well, they made a difference on Steppenwolf too. You know,
Yes.
the previous four. I mean, here's a picture here. That's the wrong one. Sorry. Sorry. Got the.
Born to
that's
be wild.
I mean, it's a
Yes.
big
So
improvement. Big improvement.
Absolutely.
And I think even in I may be wrong, but I even think in 2017, 2016, they could have done some more, you know, tender love and care to the CGI because and I really do think because when Zack Snyder, you know, he left and, you know, it's because of the loss of his daughter, you know, things were rushed and the studios, they just wanted out there. And so all they cared about was have a finished product, get it out there. And you know, like I said, I'm not a Wheaton fan, but he had a big shoes to fill. I mean, he, you know, here he is. He has he's coming into it. He used to be in the Marvelverse, you know, doing some of that. And he comes in and he has, you know, Warner Brothers, who's totally not, you know, Disney and Marvel. Well, they let Marvel just do their thing, what they're good at. And so here is Wheaton having to come in and he's having to somehow tie all this stuff together. And he kind of, you know, and he ends up putting his own vision in it, which is kind of like a mutt. It doesn't really work. I mean, you know, we saw the result of it. And then of course we saw what happened when Snyder took it back. And to me, it's, you know, I think it's 10 times as better. And so, you know, there was a lot of, I mean, you can probably do a mini series on what was happening behind the scenes of this movie itself.
Now, somebody earlier said something about one of the comments was something about they thought it was mediocre to good now versus great. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. But there were some things that were still a little, that's weird. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
So I want to bring up one specific scene that I think it felt really meaningful. And then at the last moment, it lost all relevance because of a choice that Zack Snyder made. So we have this great scene where, you know, she's basically sequestered herself into the house. She goes and visits the park every day, doesn't go to work. Martha Kent shows up, has coffee with her, tells her, hey, you've got to get back into the world. You've got to get back to, you know, yes, this has happened, but you have to get back out there and do things. Martha Kent walks out of the room and she's actually Martian Manhunter. I personally felt like this scene had a lot of emotional depth and it really worked and it made sense. And then he ruined it by it not actually being Martha. The two people that actually care about Clark Kent, and it's not actually them talking about
If I could,
what did you guys feel about that?
I really enjoyed the scene specifically because everything that Martha Manhunter, I just like to say that because it works.
Martha Manhunter, yeah.
everything that he says is actually what he's feeling. If we're going by the comic origin, he's like, I'm grieving over. We're both grieving over something we can't say, and we can't tell. We're both grieving over a secret, which is true because Martian Manhunter is from Mars, of course, and his whole civilization. He's the last one of his civilization. His family and everything was just murdered brutally, and so he's grieving over that in secret. And so I also loved the setup with it being the general in the past two movies of Man of Steel and BVS.
I
Kind of
love
just
the fact that he has existed and he is this person.
exactly. It's weird because you never in the comics you're always like, oh well, he's a detective. We know this, but in those movies, I didn't expect it to be him. I just thought it was a recurring character, not Martian Manhunter, and it just shows how he hides in plain sight.
Yeah.
And of course, I just love seeing Martian Manhunter put into live action movies. That's fantastic to see. And I thought overall the scene was meaningful specifically because Martian Manhunter knows what she's going through and knows what it takes to get back out and what it takes to make a change. So I felt like it was necessary to the story, at least in my opinion.
What did you think, Mike?
I was kind of mixed on that, in that scene. I thought it was a touching scene between, eventually her mother-in-law and, having a conversation, both grieving the loss of, her fiance, her son. And so when Manhunter came out, it kind of threw me off, for me, it threw me off. But then also too, you look at the aspect of it. Why did he single her out? What was the reason behind it? Why did he go out of his way to go in there and have a conversation with her? What's the, was there something that he was trying to prevent her not to do? Was he trying to, is there something about Lois that, she wants to make sure that she's on this track, that eventually it's supposed to be something good in the future? I mean, I'm trying to figure out the angle of it. Is it just pure that he had empathy or sympathy and he went to talk to her? Or was there another motive, not an unpure motive, but another motive to try to understand that she is needed, for what's about to happen? And of course, later on, and then, Todd V was talking about, the pregnancy test that was in the drawer. And,
that is a long, weird conversation.
That's a long conversation there. Yeah, exactly. Because it happened a split of a second. It opens up, you see it for 5 seconds, and then that's it. And like I said, spoiler alert, people, because if you haven't seen it, you need to. But it's hard not to talk about this movie without bringing up scenes. So are we good with that? We're good with spoilers? Are we good with?
Oh yeah, I think we're good with spoilers. It's been a couple of weeks. You all have had plenty of time to watch it. Shame on you if you haven't.
Well, do we want
to talk about the pregnancy test first?
Yeah.
Or do we want to talk about the change in the in bringing Superman back first?
As long as we don't forget, because to me,
okay, let's talk about pregnancy test first.
The only thing, the reason I say that, because I can't remember one thing from the next, is that for me it goes further to the end, where Bruce Wayne buys the farm back because he buys the bank. And on the way in, he tells Clark, he says, "Congratulations." Now, I think I understand why you want to go with the resurrection of bringing back Superman alive. But after they did, he had time to try to figure out what was going on after he came back to life, and he was there with Lois. And there was a scene where she had her ring on, and he was saying, "I guess that means yes," which tells me that he proposed and they were going to get married. So for me, at the very end, because there's no mention of no mention of pregnancy, there's no mention of actually them getting married or being married, in it. But at the end, and it caught me off guard, where Bruce Wayne says congratulations, and I had this conversation with Ricky. I said, "Well, what is he referring to? Which one?" And of course, you said both, but
Yes.
For me, I was trying to think of something more specific. What congratulations? What? Is it because of the pregnancy? Does Bruce Wayne even know, or is it because he knows they're getting married? So anyway, and this really sets up for another great movie,
Yeah.
which we're
I think
not
I
going to
can.
have.
I think I can answer some of the confusion there. First of all, we can just go by what the director said. He said
Yeah,
that he was saying congratulations because of the kid.
yeah,
But then we can dive deeper into how Superman knows about this and how even Bruce Wayne would know about this. For going from the comics, which I probably read too much of, we're going by he was confused when he was resurrected. We know
Yeah.
this. And then he saw Lois. And it might not have been because he saw Lois to where he calmed down. It might have been because in instinct he saw two heartbeats, which is what happens in the comics in Injustice. He senses two heartbeats and knows that Lois is pregnant before even she is. And going back to the Injustice comics, Superman's going to tell Bruce Wayne that they want him to be the godfather of their child. And Bruce already knows. And he's like, "You're pregnant." And he's like, "How do you know?" He's like, "I know everything." And so, Bruce.
Because I'm Batman.
Exactly. Bruce already would know because he's a fantastic detective and because he's Batman. And Clark would probably surrendered and calmed down specifically because he sensed two heartbeats, not necessarily Lois. And it could be that, but and then we had a little bit of a nugget from Zack Snyder on Vero that just was a little bit of a tease, I
I
guess.
remember sending
It
this
was
to
the
you, Ricky.
day
Yeah.
the day of the Restore the Snyderverse massive hashtag campaign that happened, and somebody says we gotta restore the Snyderverse. I want to see if Clark and Lois's baby is cute. And I'm like, that's sweet. And then Zack Snyder replied and he said, "I'm sure it'll be." And I'm like, you can't use a future word. And I'm like, you can't do
Yeah.
that without knowing something like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay, so Nate's not going there.
Yeah,
So shall
I'm
we
gonna-
go to the big super duper controversy here?
Well, the thing is,
That-
I sent you a copy, and it was
Yes.
on Instagram, ing, and they talked about that. Snyder said that he wanted to in the next film he wanted to have Superman's son as Batman. Remember
yeah,
that? And-
because during the death,
Yeah,
Lois and Bruce hook up, and it's actually his kid all along, which is totally a jacked up idea.
well, that's it. Yeah,
But I think
Yeah.
it's totally bizarre. But if that's really what the director wants to do, I guess.
that report has been Frankensteined, kind of like the
Yeah.
2017 movie. It was way before the Snyder Cut came out, as he was, telling stuff about his vision and what it was going to be because he didn't expect to release it. He says it was going to be Bruce and Lois's child, which was, again, jarring for me because it's a little bit of a different take. But again, I would like to see it and see what happens. And then recently he confirmed that it actually would be Clark and Lois's child. And the Zack Snyder's Justice League or the Snyder Cut would take place just a couple months maybe after BVS happened, the end of BVS. So it would work timeline wise. And then he said since Clark and Lois's child would not have any powers because of the biology and all that stuff and how it would work, after, again, this is spoilers for movies we might be getting in the next 4 years, hopefully.
Probably not.
So again, spoilers. Batman would die at the end of the second movie, and there would be a period where Batgirl would fill in for a little bit, and then Clark and Lois's child would take up the mantle of Batman and become what they all envisioned, kind of as a symbiotic relationship between Bruce and Clark and their connection again, which would be, I like that better than it being Bruce and Lois's child.
I
Yeah,
do
same
too.
here.
That's the way I want to see this happen. Now, earlier I said, talking about Superman coming back to life, and we talked around it a little bit, but one of the things I really enjoyed in the new cut is that Lois, in the moment when Superman comes back, in the moment where Superman flies off with her, Lois is not the it's not Batman's backup plan.
Yeah.
Lois just happens to be there and saves Batman's rear end.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of Batman actually having this grand plan and Lois is my secret weapon, we actually have Lois as this heroic person who steps out into danger, and we get that moment. I honestly, I think that's so much better than Lois just being another cog in the Batman wheel.
Yeah.
I think so too.
I agree. I think it's set up a lot better with her going to Heroes Park every day. That made a lot more sense instead of just, again, her being there. Felt very strange. I mean, just the little things too, like how all the other Justice League members showed up like 7 minutes before Batman did, because he has to get there on foot.
That's brilliant. So there's another thing that is a major change in the way that, not in the way the story plays out, but in the way the characters play out. So in the original Snyder Cut, we have Wonder Woman adamantly against bringing Superman back. And in the Zack Snyder Cut, we have her all for it, and we have Aquaman adamantly against it the entire time. He's against it in the very moment that they are doing it. He's like, we shouldn't do this. How do you guys feel about that change?
I think it fits the characters better. Aquaman is already pessimistic. He's already dragging his feet. He doesn't
from the moment.
Yes, he didn't want any involvement in the beginning. He didn't want to be part of the war, and so the next thing you know, they're talking about bringing back this man who they have no idea how he's going to react from the dead, who has the greatest power on Earth, even among them. So yeah, but I think the attitude fits better with his character than Diana. I think Diana understands the importance, and we're at a point where it doesn't really matter because either way it's going to go bad. And so
she knew it was she already knew it was going to be a war. Yeah. She knew it was a war before.
Yeah.
And she tells Bruce, I get confused because I actually watched Batman versus Superman, the ultimate cut on HBO Max just a couple of days before I watched the Zack Snyder cut. So I get confused as which one's which. But she tells him the war's already here.
Yeah. One thing I noticed,
so she's already on board.
Yeah. The thing I noticed too is that Batman was not, unlike the first one, Batman was not seen as the mad scientist. In the first one, he had very much the mad scientist. We're going to do this no matter what, even if it blows up in our face. And this one was more of a group decision instead of him, being this, I'm going to Dr. Frankenstein type of attitude. Yeah,
Exactly.
So what do you think about this one? It felt like a throwaway line, but it's a complete, it almost felt like a 180.
Yeah.
Alfred, all the Justice League have boarded the plane. Batman is stepping up onto the platform, and he turns to Alfred and he says, have faith. Where Batman's kind of been pretty pessimistic about this is going to go bad the whole time. And then all of a sudden he's like, just have faith. What do you think about that moment?
I love the character arc of Ben Affleck's Batman throughout the whole BVS and Justice League. BVS, he's like, we need to make sure this person's untamed and has no checks and balances. I mean, he could just wipe out the world if he wanted to, which makes sense. It's something to be scared about. And if you can do something against it, might as well. And then he has, again, like Zack Snyder said, a restored faith in humanity after Superman dies. There's still good in people. And seeing how many people can rally behind this one person of hope. And I love the line when Bruce is working on the Batmobile and he's like, for once, I'm working strictly on faith, not on reason.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the whole Faith Alfred Faith line. I just loved his character in this movie. I think it was
Yeah.
fantastic, very comic accurate in both BVS and Justice League, how
Yeah.
it was changed. And of course, Alfred was fantastic in this movie as well. I loved his character.
Well,
He's a great actor.
They gave him more time. There was
Yes.
more time between the relationship of Alfred and Bruce Wayne, and also with the other characters. One of my favorite things that was left out of the first one was when Superman showed up to Alfred, and
Yes.
and I loved it. He said, "You must be Alfred." He says, "Yes, sir." He says, "I said." What was he saying? He said, "I'm late." I said, "You're late for the fight," or something like that. Do you remember the exact words he said? But I liked that for a minute. All of a sudden you see the shadow coming up. You can tell the strength come up on Alfred, and it was this. It gave me goosebumps. I can't really describe that moment, but and going back to Bruce Wayne and his, the story arc of him becoming having more faith in humanity. I understand after Batman versus Superman, in this film you can tell at first he carried a great burden of guilt. What happened to Clark, and it was painful.
Yeah.
And there's throughout it, he wanted a lot of what he was doing. He wanted to do it in honor of Superman or Clark. He didn't want him to die in vain. And there was really a lot of that underneath, if you would, catch some of the scenes and the things that he said. And I think as time gone on, he started seeing the effects that, the loss of Superman and, how Superman represented hope and faith. And I think that kind of sparked something within Bruce Wayne himself. And I think that was one reason why he was so desperate to get Superman back. I think it was more than just coming against Steppenwolf and Darkseid. I think he knew that this planet needed it. They needed Superman back. And I think he made a reference in it. I can't remember, but I think somewhere that was kind of mentioned. He said, I think somewhere he says, this world needs Superman. And I do think that was a great story arc. I'd let Batman, who's the grumbling, brute, and here he is all suddenly telling Alfred, have faith.
Yeah, it was really great. I loved his character, and I loved the guilt he felt because he feels probably like it was his fault too.
Yeah.
And somebody had a really great point, kind of going to Superman here. Superman, when he's at the farm and he sees Martha, that's the first time he sees Martha again after he sees those hostage photos, not even knowing if she was alive or not.
Mm-hmm.
So he died without saying goodbye and knowing if Batman saved her. And that just makes that scene a lot more emotional. The first time that they've seen each other again. And so I felt like certain things, little things, just looks and stuff. I just really enjoyed that. I don't know. It was just fantastic. I liked the whole Batman arc and Superman and all that stuff.
I also really did like the consistency. We kind of alluded to it. The consistency that Aquaman had in this movie. He didn't suddenly become surfer dude.
Yeah.
Which I thought was unfortunate in the last in the previous cut.
Yeah, exactly.
I felt like when Aquaman, he's kind of just all this like, I don't want to work with the Justice League. I don't want to be here. I'm just here because I kind of have to. All that stuff. I liked how he understood Cyborg's pain and all that stuff. And after when he sees Cyborg working on the plane, he is like, we're asking a kid who just lost his father to do one of the most difficult things in the world. And he's like, I think it's too much. And I liked, that's kind of where you can see he's switching to being with the team. And I liked that. That was, he cared. He cares for these people at that point, which I really liked that. I really enjoyed all of that.
What's your opinion on the the different versions of Lex and Deathstroke?
I have always been a person that really actually liked Jesse Eisenberg's Lex in BVS, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he felt a little bit more like comic Lex in the scene we got in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bald and a little bit more
A little
kind
more
of reserved,
in control.
yeah, in control and more thinking out everything and all that stuff. I felt
BVS, he felt like a little like a guy. He felt a little like somebody with ADHD that was off his meds.
yeah,
An evil
he
Zuckerberg.
did.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to make Zuckerberg in DC,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I enjoyed his character in BVS specifically because he was again a genius, and
Yeah.
he really was. He was just evil, and he felt
Yeah.
like Superman didn't belong here. And it was kind of the compare and contrast. You're not sure because everything that Lex is saying is the exact thing that Bruce Wayne is saying. So you're
Yeah.
not sure if Bruce Wayne is a good guy or not in BVS. You're not 100% sure because you know Lex is a bad guy, but you know that Batman isn't. So you're really not knowing where to stand. And then you, of course, see Lex creating Doomsday, and then Batman working with Superman is to kind of split that apart. And so I think that Lex was better in this, and I again would love to see more of him. I think it would be great. But
the follow up on that, and kind of what I'm alluding to is they had two different versions of this. They had the one
Right.
where he mentioned their own Doom
A
League.
league of our own.
And then the other one was basically giving Deathstroke the keys to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
What's your take on either one?
I like the idea of introducing the Legion of Doom in the original one, but this was the one that we got for the Snyder Cut was going to be setting up the solo
Yes.
Batman movie.
Yeah.
Which
really
would have been
loved-
great.
Yes,
it would have been. I love Joe's Deathstroke.
Yes.
And I was watching this interview. Zack Snyder was talking with a few people with Joe. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I just really don't know how to. But he was like, I really made sure I put care into this character. I really made sure I put care into Deathstroke. He's like, I went to Japan and I went to martial artists and asked, teach me things that you wouldn't teach normal people because you're afraid it would kill somebody. He's like, I need to learn those type of things. He's like, I need to learn those to be able to be better in my movie for the martial arts. And he's like, teach me stances with the katana if somebody has lost a right eye. He's like, I need to learn that stance and those stances. He's like, I just need to learn how to flesh out this character. And so I'm very disappointed we won't be able to see more of his Deathstroke. I think that he really cared for the character, and I think he really wanted to put more into it. And he's like, I got called for 3 different things. He's like, I was going to be doing Justice League 2, and then that was canceled. I was going to be doing the Batman movie, and then that was canceled. And then I was going to do the Deathstroke movie, and then that was canceled. He's like, and I just didn't want to deal with this universe anymore because he's like, it was a roller coaster of emotions. I would be very excited to get back into it, and then they just dropped the ball.
He put so much work into that, and it's a shame. It's really a shame. I had one more I wanted to ask you guys about because this is kind of leading close to the end, the Nightmare.
Yes.
And how do you feel about Leto's version of the Joker on this one versus the Suicide Squad?
Well, I've watched Suicide Squad, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. I think we can all agree it wasn't the best movie. I honestly think it was just slightly.
Are you
better.
saying? Are you saying not all DC movies are good DC movies as opposed to all Star Wars is good Star Wars?
I absolutely. This is something. This is like not a common opinion. I really did not like Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey was really just bad.
Yeah.
I would actually rank Suicide Squad higher than Birds of Prey because Birds of Prey was not my cup of tea. But going back to Suicide Squad, I feel like Joker wasn't right. And maybe if we again, the studio interference with Suicide Squad was a lot like Snyder's Justice League. And of course, there's this whole release the air cut, and to get that out as well. I'm not sure if that one will work as much because of the situation that Zach had and everything, and how he was mistreated
Yeah.
in that situation. But the air cut would have had a lot more Joker, and he would have been a lot more serious, a lot like the Joker we saw in the nightmare scenes, which I really loved the Joker in the nightmare scenes. I loved the line of "Why would you send a boy wonder to do a man's work?" That was
Yes.
really digging into Batman and really digging into, I mean, what Batman said, be very careful with the next thing you say. And he wasn't careful because he knows he won't do anything.
Well, it
I love
made
that.
reference to the previous chapter. I mean, the previous movie where you saw Robin's outfit, and you saw Joker kill. On the Joker was written on the costume. So I like the throwback that it made to that.
Yes. I loved in the whole 40-second cuts between when Cyborg was merging with the Kryptonian ship in Mother Box and seeing the
Yeah,
future. We
Yeah.
saw Superman holding Lois's disintegrated body, which was sad. But we also saw that it was in the Batcave. We saw the red computer that's right next to the Robin suit, which we saw both of those, which is really exciting to see that also playing into what we expected. Um, and I was really excited to hear. So Zach was like, in the next movie, before like the big mission, which again, it feels very Lord of the Rings esque. He's like,
yeah,
before the next mission, they would have been sitting around a table, kind of eating kind of a Last Supper type of deal, all telling tales of some of the things that they've done in life, some of their big moments. And it would get to Joker, and he would tell the tale of when he killed Robin as his big
hmm
moment in life, right in front of Batman. And I'm like, that's the Joker I would want to see.
Yeah.
That's not Suicide Squad Joker.
yeah.
That's this Joker. That's the one I would like to see. But
I, yeah. I felt like he was more like Leto. I mean, more like Ledger. Uh,
yes,
there was. I'm not saying the same, but it was that still that very dark.
Hmm.
That kind of that feel, that darkness, which I didn't really feel that way with him playing Leto playing that in the Suicide Squad. It just,
yeah.
I don't know, just felt very, you know, we're on a road trip kind of feeling more than anything else.
Yeah. Well, and we get to see just another brief glimpse of Deathstroke in that scene as well, which is
Yeah,
kind of interesting. We're not just banding together with Joker. We're also banding together with our mortal enemy that tried to kill us in a movie that doesn't exist.
yeah,
Another
Yeah.
movie that doesn't exist.
It's kind of like we can't we can't be enemies. I mean, our enemy is Darkseid and Superman. It feels like that in the
Yep.
nightmare sequences. I also love how the timelines are getting closer,
yeah,
kind of converging into this one moment. We had in BVS, we saw that nightmare scene,
Yeah.
which is again awesome. But you see on Batman's gun the Joker card, so that means he's still in the truce. And then we get to this one, and he gives him the Joker card. So we know that that nightmare scene is set up before the BBS one. So we
Yeah.
know that the timelines are getting closer to the point of where it just starts turning into the nightmare timeline. And so it's really just amazing to see these little things put into there that are going with the timeline and going with what we expect from these movies that may or may not be made.
yeah.
So I know we're running pretty long. So kind of final words. Do you think that we will see another Snyder movie?
In the immortal words of Zack Snyder on Monday, I don't think that they can ignore it. I don't think they can ignore the reception. I don't think that they can ignore how it has topped most of the streaming services in Canada, in UK, in India. It's broken records for the most downloaded movie of all time on those services. And then you have the most streamed movie on a streaming service, on a subscription streaming service, the most streamed content, bigger than Mandalorian, bigger than Falcon and Winter Soldier, bigger than Stranger Things or Cobra Kai or those things. It was bigger than all of that. We had 1.8 million people show up in the first 5 minutes of it being on HBO Max. That is insane. And I don't think that they can ignore it, and they would be stupid to ignore it. Just let him make the movie and put it on HBO Max and limited release it in theaters, like what you used to do with the animated movies. Fathom event it, get more money from that, but also put on HBO Max and streaming services. You would get the amount of money, the gold mine that is the Snyderverse is just too hard to overlook. So I do feel like we might be getting a continuation, whether that's in TV show, movie, or even comics. I feel like we have to get a continuation at some point.
What do you think, Mike?
You know, you think about it, and I agree with Nate. You know, I would love it. I just don't think Warner Brothers that smart. Honestly, I think the reception has been overwhelming. I think the only reason this has happened to come to pass is because of the fans. It's the only reason, and I'm sure the fans, you know, if they're that ecstatic about what, you know, getting this on HBO Max, hopefully if Warner Brothers see the same type of enthusiasm, maybe they'll do the same thing. The situation here is that Zack Snyder basically gave everything up so he could have creative control. I mean, he gave up any, you know, cash money, he just wanted creative control to make this. And that's quite a dedication there. And if I was a studio head and I saw somebody doing that, I'm thinking he really cares about this picture and he has a great following, and we can, and of course, we can make money from this, because that's really bottom line what they care about. But I hope so. The only other thing is, if they had to make another Justice League, it'd probably be another 3 or 4 years before it would come out. Mm-hmm. Do you think that would be too long of a time from, if they want to keep the continuity from this Justice League to doing another Justice League? Do you think that would be too far down the road for people's memory span?
Going back to the Snyder Cut itself, us fans that were advocating for this didn't forget about it in 4 years. I mean, so we kept going for it. We didn't forget. And the thing is, these fans, that they always say, we will never forget what happened in 2017. We will never forget that movie. And we will never forget what came out. So
Daryl McCarty, yeah, exactly.
Daryl said,
sorry,
they would be stupid to ignore this. And Jesse said, yes, Justice League 2 is coming. Faith, Ricky, faith. So here's my thought. And it's similar to yours. I absolutely want to see at least another movie. I think probably there needs to be 2 more movies. But in reality. And I think it's going to come down to this. When you guys say money, and you talk about how many times it was streamed, those are huge things. But here's what it's going to come down to. If Warner Brothers, if HBO Max didn't see new subscribers, it won't happen.
Yeah.
There was a company that looked into the new subscriber jump rates and everything from on HBO Max compared to the day before, to times before the 18th and then the 18th. And there was a 68% jump in new subscribers. So I think they did see that new subscriber rate. And then you got to think, they paid $20 to rent it overseas and $25 or $30 to buy it. So they made money.
Yeah, that's where it's going to come down to. Well, any other last words, guys?
I don't think so. Thank you for having me on here. I probably talked too much, but I had to get all of this out. I couldn't get it out on my podcast in a little 15-minute segment I had.
Well, yeah, we don't attempt to do anything in 15 minutes. We can't. There's no way we can do it.
We discussed right before this, Mike and I were discussing, hey, let's try to end really close to 8 tonight. And we both went, yeah, that's not going to happen. Well, Nate, it has been a joy to have you on again.
Thank you.
Jason Hamilton says you never talk too much. You know,
Good to
they like hearing a different voice, so they
Yeah,
get
he
tired
must
of
be
us.
talking about you because he's not talking about us. I can tell you that.
Dan says great discussion, and Todd says it was great listening to you again, Nate.
Thank you.
Well, if there's nothing else, Mike, we got any last words? Check us out on Facebook. Check us out at somethingaboutSomething.com and or sasnerds.com. You can find all of our social links. You can find links to our podcast and to our YouTube channel there as well. We would love for you to subscribe and check out TatooineSons.com, and that's Sons SONS as opposed to with a U. So TatooineSons.com, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I assume we can find all of your social links there and all of your links to the podcast as well.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. He calls me sir. Makes me feel so old.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, we love having
Your
you,
father
Nate.
raised you well.
Yeah. No, we love having you, Nate. I'm glad you came back
Thank
with
you.
us. I learned a lot from your love of DC and basically spurs mine on. So I appreciate you coming back.
We're happy to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we love to have you again. We'll throw another topic out that you like.
No, David
happened?
typed. He attempted to type TatooineSons.com.
There
and
we
Tiffany
go.
put it up on the screen, and he typed it wrong.
He typed it
Tatooine
wrong.
Sons. There we go. There we are. It's right now.
Good job, David. Appreciate you.
Typed it up wrong. That's funny.
David is one of the other co-hosts of Tatooine Sons. He is the dad of Tatooine Sons, to be specific.
And
David
I'm-
and
yeah.
BB Nate and Samuel the Hutt. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
the name? And I can't remember David. What's David?
He's the bow tie Jedi guy.
Bow tie Jedi guy. Yes. Well, find us all. Subscribe. We would love to have you join both of us. We're so glad you joined us today. We got the best audience in the world, don't we, Mike?
Yes, we do.
I love our audience. And if anybody knows where Le Mans is, let us know. So we're hunting for Le Mans. That should be a movie.
It sounds like one.
Yeah. Waiting for Guffman, waiting for Le Mans. There you go.
All right. Well, let's, I guess we'll end this then.
Let's do this.
Ready?
I'm ready.
This has been the Something About Something podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Shilley.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe. Now I gotta go to bed.
You got to get up early tomorrow. You got a new job.
That's right. Can't sleep in with a dog.